And basically her contents got stuck on one of the grains and it ripped the front of my bag. I'm not kidding you, I was nearly in tears when I saw that. Hey guys, my name is G.P.S. and welcome back. A couple of weeks ago, I did an Hermes related Q&A, and one of the most frequently asked questions that I received, and that I actually continue to do so, were about cleaning and treating your Hermes bags at home. And even though I did a video on this topic a long time ago, like I think my original video might be a year old at this point, I did that at the beginning of my YouTube journey, so I felt that the quality wasn't as good as it could have been. So today we'll be doing an updated video on everything that you need to know about cleaning, treating, and storing your Hermes bags at home, as well as my experience with the Hermes Leather Spa. So if that sounds interesting to you, then please be sure to give this video a thumbs up and keep on watching. I filmed a video with this Kelly of mine just a couple of days ago, and the day I filmed with this, I ended up taking this out to run all my errands, and it has just been sitting in my little filming setup ever since, so I thought this would be the perfect chance for me to show you everything that I do to my bags in action at home, just to make sure that they stay in the best condition possible. Because obviously these bags were made to last, you don't have to worry about them too much, they are incredible quality and they were made specifically to be used, enjoyed and abused. So you don't necessarily have to go crazy about taking care of them, but I feel there are a handful of things that you can do at home just to make sure that these investment pieces remain an investment into your wardrobe and you can enjoy them for a lifetime. So I'll show you everything that I do at home, and these are just things that I do myself. This is what I have learned and picked up along the way and what I found to work best for my bags. But you should of course always speak to the person that you work with at Hermes, because I'm sure that they have more than a plethora of tips and tricks to offer you that you can do to your bags at home. But I thought that I could share with you what I do myself. And I am pretty OCD about taking care of my bags. I really appreciate these pieces and I'm grateful for them. So I want to make sure that I can enjoy them for as long as possible. And I found that there are quite a few things that do really help me with that. So the first thing that I do when I'm done using a bag, if I'm not going to use it for about a week or so, I would consider putting it away. I'm not someone who leaves bags out. I like to put them away and make sure that they are safe and sound, relaxing when I'm not actually using them. Obviously, if you're someone who is constantly switching out their bags, you might not be able to do the full shebang every single time, but I feel there are still tips that you can take away from this that you can do to make sure that even if you're not using a bag for a couple of days, it still is supported and protected in the best way possible. But anyway, the first thing that I do when I'm done using my bag for about a week is that I empty them. It doesn't matter what bag I use, I try to use an insert in most of my bags, especially when it comes to Hermes bags. So as you can see, I have my 7RP insert in here, which in case you're interested in seeing what I carry in this bag and what fits in here, I have done a video on that, so I'll make sure to have that linked up here. But I've already gone ahead and emptied this bag, so as you can see there is absolutely nothing in here but my insert. And when it comes to insert, it is quite a controversial topic whether you should keep your insert in the bag while you're putting them away or if you should take them out and just put the bags away completely empty. It really depends. I feel when it comes to bags that I use on a regular basis and that are in my constant rotation, I usually keep the insert in them if I know that they're only going to be put away for a week or so. But if it's a bag that I'm putting back in their box and they're going to be resting for a long time, I usually take the insert out and I just use some stuffing, which we'll move on to in a second. And because this is a bag that I use on a regular basis, I am going to leave the insert in here. But if I put this away for, I don't know, a handful of months, I would probably take out the insert from here as well. But we're going to be leaving the insert in there just in case. And I have done a super in-depth video on inserts, on the pros and the cons of using inserts and bag organizers. So I don't want to be repetitive in case you have seen that video of mine. It will be linked down below. But I do use an actual insert in here because this is a return bag, which needs a little bit of support from the inside out. If this was a cellier bag, one that is a little bit more structured, I personally would still prefer to use an insert inside just to make sure that I protect the inside of the bag and give it just as much support as I possibly can. But because cellier bags are known to be more boxy and more structured, I don't think that they rely on inserts as heavily as bags that are more relaxed and have the tendency to lose their shape, like a return bag, especially one that's made of such a heavy leather as Togo, because the weight of the leather kind of falls on itself and it has the tendency to drag down on the structure of the bag. So using an insert for me is crucial in these types of bags. And stuffing is going to be just as important, which we'll move on to in a second. But the first thing I do is I basically remove everything from my bag, including the accessories. So if you're putting away a Kelly, if you're putting away a Chanel bag, if you're putting away a bag that has different moving pieces, I would take everything off. So because we are putting away a Kelly today, I will take off the strap and put it back into its dust bag. I will remove the little lock that it comes with, which I like to keep on here. If you keep a rodeo on your bags, if you have the clochette on, whatever it may be, just make sure that you take everything off. If it comes to bags that come with a shoulder strap that you cannot remove, so for example, a Chanel bag that comes with a chain, I would recommend that you wrap that in some tissue paper or a towel just to make sure that it is not actually touching the leather on the bag. So I will remove the shoulder strap, the little lock. I'm not personally big on keeping my clochettes on the bag. I have done it in the past and sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. But one thing that you want to be careful with is that if you leave your clochette on your back for a long time, it can leave something behind that is called a smile mark, because as the clochette moves back and forth, obviously this won't happen if you only keep your clochette on for a couple of weeks. But if you leave it on for years and you keep using your bag with the clochette on, it can leave this really interesting mark behind, which is sort of the clochette's imprint on the leather. Obviously, the smoother the leather, the more prone it's going to be for marks and scratches. So with Togo, even though it can happen, and I've seen that happen before, I would be more careful with leathers that have a smooth texture to them. And it's actually not the easiest thing to take care of and fix. So I would make sure that I remove everything. And then, as I mentioned, if you have any rodeos, back charms, accessories, you want to make sure that you remove all of them and there's nothing that is sitting on your bag when you're putting it away. I don't think when it comes to a rodeo or something like this that is made of leather and is quite soft, it would leave an imprint or a mark behind. But you know, it's better to be safe than to be sorry, I feel. So once we have this off, I'll just put this inside of the bag in the insert. Once you've taken everything off of your bag and it's nice and naked, we can move on to cleaning them. So what I personally like to do is I like to make sure that I always keep these little microfiber cloth that come with Chanel handbags. Obviously, if you don't have these on hand, you can just use any sort of dry, soft, clean towel, or you can use just a microfiber cloth. I find the Chanel ones to be perfect because they're extremely soft but really effective. As you can see, this one is quite dirty because I have been using this for quite a while. But I basically just take this. This is kind of like a little glove, you could call it. You put this over your hand and then you just go over the bag and kind of wipe it off wherever you feel it is a little bit dirty. You can go over the hardware, you can go over just sort of all parts of the bag, the corners and everywhere, to make sure that you collect every little dust and everything that is collected on the surface of your bag. And if I notice any sort of marks or stains that I cannot get out just by buffing it really gently with a cloth, sometimes I take a couple drops of water on my microfiber cloth and try to get it out that way. But I personally would recommend that you are really careful even with water, because if you use water on a skin that's delicate and is prone to getting watermarks, you can actually do more damage than good. So just stick to a clean, dry cloth. That is what I tend to do. And then if you find a stain that you feel needs to be removed, or if there's something that needs to be done to your bag, just drop it off at the Hermes Leather Spa and let the professionals take care of it. I get asked if I have any recommendations for balms and conditioners and leather shampoos. I personally would not use any of those things at home. I'm sure there are good products out there, ones that are actually good to be used on your Hermes pieces, but I would not recommend that you try any one of them. Because if down the line you ever need to get anything done to your bag, if something needs to be repaired or cleaned professionally, and the craftsman noticed that something had been done to the bag outside of the workshop, they can refuse to service your bag, and there is really nothing that you can do at that point. If they cannot take care of it and they refuse to work with your piece, where are you going to take it at that point? I personally would not risk it, and I wouldn't recommend that you do either. And when it comes to the Hermes Leather Spa, I've had a handful of experiences with them, mainly in the US. So in the US, if you live in New York or in LA, you are in luck because the Beverly Hills Boutique and then the boutique on Madison Avenue, they used to have on-site craftsmen who were able to look at your bags on the spot and decide what needs to be done to them. And while I'm not sure what's going on, what's the current protocol with everything going on, they still have dedicated desks, after-sale desks, that specialize in taking care of all your Hermes pieces. So if you can get to any one of those stores, I think that is the best thing that you can do to make sure that they get to your bags as soon as possible. But even if you don't live near either one of those stores, you can still drop off your pieces at any Hermes store out there, and you don't have to have a receipt, you don't have to have any proof of purchase. You can still take them back to the boutique and they can decide where they need to be shipped on your behalf, if they can be shipped to the domestic atelier or if they need to be shipped back to France, depending on what needs to be done to your bag. That is the best thing that you can do. And when it comes to my personal experience with the spa, there are only really 2 bags that I ever had to get repaired, and both of them I dropped off at the Madison Avenue boutique to be looked at. The first bag that I can think of getting repaired was honestly a really small repair. It was with my very first mini Kelly, which I noticed that the handle off started leaning forward quite drastically after just a couple of months of use. It almost felt like that the handle came loose and it was moving back and forth. So I dropped it off at the Madison Avenue boutique. A craftsman was able to look at it overnight and they fixed it. They called me the next day and they were like, your bag is ready to be picked up. You can come pick it up whenever you want to. And that was pretty much it. It was an easy fix. And then the other piece I had, I would say definitely a more severe accident with. I was carrying a Birkin 40 of mine one day, which I have sold since, and I was in my friend's car. I was sitting in her passenger seat, and I had my Birkin 40 in my lap. My friend was carrying a Constance at the time, and she handed me her Constance while she was driving so she can focus on whatever she was focusing on, I guess driving. And once we were able to find a parking spot, she obviously reached for her bag. And we didn't really even pay attention, but as she lifted her bag, it got stuck on something just for a brief second. Neither one of us was really paying attention. We went on our way to do whatever we were doing. And then at night when I got home, I realized that the thing that her bag got stuck on was one of the grains of my Birkin. It was a Togo bag similar to this. And basically her Constance got stuck on one of the grains and it ripped the front of my bag. I'm not kidding you, I was nearly in tears when I saw that. My bag basically had honestly an obvious visible split right in the front, which it was pretty deep, but it wasn't too long. And this happened during the weekend and Hermes is obviously closed on Sundays. So I had to wait until Monday to take my bag in. I went in first thing on Monday in absolute panic. And I dropped off my bag. I was like, please just do something to this. I'm completely freaked out. I have no idea what I'm going to do if I cannot fix this. Because I am quite OCD about my pieces. I'm really grateful for all the pieces that I own. And I don't like anything that I own to not look pristine. So a craftsman came out. She was like, just take everything out of the bag and come back in 10 to 15 minutes. And I wasn't quite sure what was going on. If she would just have a close look at it and let me know if it has to be shipped somewhere or if it's going to get fixed in 10-15 minutes. I'm not kidding you, it was probably one of the longest 15 minutes of my life, and I'm not exaggerating. I ended up walking up and down the Madison Avenue boutique, and I went back in 15 minutes. She came back with my bag, and I'm not kidding you, I thought she brought out a brand new bag. The bag was completely fixed. You could have honestly never told that anything had happened to the bag because of how seamlessly they were able to fix it. I genuinely thought that it was magic, but the craftsman went, no, there is nothing magical about this. It's just a little bit of glue and paint. So I assume they must have pushed this card together, glued it down, and then painted over it, which was honestly just incredible. And that is exactly why I don't think it's worth risking using anything on your bags if something like that happens. It's not worth experimenting with fixing it yourself. At the end of the day, you're paying so much for these pieces because they are made by artisans who live and breathe these products, and you can use and enjoy them for a lifetime, but if anything happens to them, you know that you can rely on them to be able to fix it for you. Once our bag has been cleaned and it's ready to be put away, the next step that you want to do is to stuff your bag. And it really doesn't matter if it's a return bag, a cellier bag, if it's more boxy or if it's more relaxed. I think it needs to be stuffed because when you buy a cellier bag, if you remember getting it from the store when they open a cellier bags do come with stuffing inside of them from the boutique, which in my opinion implies that they should be stuffed when you put them away at home as well. And yes, it might not be as obvious if you don't stuff them, but I think it's better to be safe than to be sorry. And you can use anything to stuff your bags. You just want to make sure that it's soft, it's malleable, it's nothing too rigid that could leave a mark on your bags. As I mentioned, you can leave your insert inside of your bags as long as it's the perfect shape and it will give enough support to your bags. You can use something like this, which came with my 7RP bag inserts. This is just like a little puff, so you can use something like this. You can use paper. Just if you're using paper, make sure that it's not one that has any sort of print on it and it doesn't have any sort of bleach or anything inside of it that could leak inside of your bag. So just use some regular tissue paper maybe, or you could use something like a clean towel, which is what I'm going to use today. You can use clean t-shirts as long as there is no print or dye on them. Just make sure you use something clean that is not going to leave any marks on the inside of your bag. But you want to make sure that you stuff your bag, especially when it comes to bags like this that are more slouchy and that are more relaxed. I think stuffing your bags can really do wonders, especially if you buy a bag perhaps secondhand or pre-loved that you feel is not as just solid and as structured as it should be. I feel like stuffing it can really do wonders, so you always want to make sure, even if you're not using a bag for just a week or so, you want to make sure that you put something on the inside. One thing that I would probably avoid using is the little air pillows that come with the bags when you first buy them, because they can expand and deflate over time. So I have traveled with those air pillows before inside of my bag, and they inflated so much on the plane that my bag looked like a balloon. And I remember having to go up to the crew and asking them to do something with it, because it was basically this huge balloon and I was so nervous it was going to burst and make a huge noise on the flight. So it's definitely not something that you want to travel with. And even if you're using them at home inside of your bag, they can deflate over time. And if you're not using your bag, if you're not reaching for it, you may think that your bag is being kept properly stuffed, but in reality, the thing that you use to stuff it deflates over time and it has no support. So I would just stick to clean towels, tissue paper, or just clean t-shirts that you have at home. If I'm putting my bag away and I know I'm not going to reach for it anytime soon, I will also use the felt that comes with Hermes bags in case you don't have this any longer because you bought your bag pre-loved or you lost it. You can always buy some felt from any DIY store. Just make sure it's not bleached or dyed, and you can cut a little piece like this to use that. Or you can just even use, I guess, some more tissue paper if you want to. And there is a method to the madness. It is pretty simple. You basically take the upper little cutout over the twist closure, and then you'll see that you'll have a little bit of felt left over, which you want to tuck in over the top of the bag. Then you can move on to pulling the sangles through the two little holes on the side. And that will help you not only tighten the bag, but also tighten the felt so it doesn't move around while you're working with it. Then once you've done that, you can push the flap down. And before you put the sangles through the twist closure, you want to turn the felt over the top part of the flap. You have another cutout there to make sure that you can secure it that way. And then you can just basically take the sangles and pull them through the twist closure and close your bag. You never want to leave your sangles hanging because they can stretch over time. And then the last thing you can do to protect your bags is to put them back in their dust bag. If you don't have the original dust bag, you can of course stop by Hermes and ask them if they have an extra dust bag to give you. If they don't have any, you can use any dust bags from other brands, or even just any sort of breathable material that you have at home will do. So something like a pillowcase or old sheets, just to cover up your bag and protect it from any sort of sunlight. Obviously, if you can, it's best that if you store your bags in a dry and dark environment where they're not exposed to sunlight and any sort of moisture in the air, because those are some of the biggest enemies of bags that are not being used. And ideally, you want to store your bags on their back. I know it's not always an option, but if you have the boxes that they came in, just put them back in their boxes. But I think if you store them stood up like this, it's still not the end of the world as long as they are properly stuffed. And that is pretty much it. That's all you need to do to keep your bags in the best condition possible. So just a quick overview of 3 things that you can do to make your bags last a little bit longer. You want to buy an insert that properly fits your bag and it gives your bag the proper support that it needs from the inside out. You want to make sure that when you're done using your bag, you wipe it off. You don't need balms, you don't need conditioners, you don't need anything, just a clean dry cloth. That is everything that you need. And then you want to make sure that you stuff your bag when you're not using it. It is the easiest thing that you can do, but trust me, it will make the biggest difference if you stuff your bags properly. You don't need to overstuff them. You don't want to understuff them. Just put a towel or something that you have at home lying around in there to make sure that your bag doesn't lose its shape, because I feel like that is a telltale sign of an older bag, which I think you don't want. And that is pretty much it. It really is as simple as that. And I think it's worth doing these little things throughout the years of you using your bag, just so you can get your money's worth out of such expensive pieces that were made to last and to be enjoyed for a really long time. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and you found it helpful. If you have seen any other older videos from me that you'd want me to refilm because of the quality or because of any updates, then please be sure to let me know in the comment section, as well as if you have any tips and tricks to share with us that I didn't mention in this video, please be sure to let us know. And if you enjoyed this video, then please be sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.